Hello folks, and welcome back to the Folklore of Being. This is episode 1 in our podcast series on animal lore. In this episode we'll be looking at our canine friends dogs, with a specific focus on the supernatural and mystical elements of our cultural expression when it comes to our doggy friends. If you like this video, please leave a like and a comment to help this channel grow. Thank you very much and enjoy the podcast. Dogs are thought to have split off from wolves around 15,000 years ago, with man having a relationship with dogs that spans over a time period of about 11,000 years. The domestication of wolves was likely to have occurred from the scavenging habits of wolf packs upon the rubbish heaps of human settlements. The tamest of these dogs would then begin to get closer to humans, until man and dog had developed a mutually beneficial relationship. In return for their cooperation, dogs would have had secure sources of food and warmth, and the benefits afforded to mankind by his relationship with dogs meant that man's life improved rapidly. Dogs have been long-time collaborators with human beings, not only as our guards and our hunters, but as close companions, friends and guides. They became our closest allies, and so it is inevitable that they became incorporated into our myths, legends and our fables. Dogs in folklore and myth are not only divine companions to a myriad of gods, goddesses and demigods, but they are also celestial and spiritual beings themselves. They are lunar dogs, solar dogs, and dogs as constellations. They are elemental creatures, swallowers of the heavenly bodies, fairy spirits and psychopomps. But with the light there is always dark, and deep beneath the earth is darkest. Dogs are present in many myths involving death, disease, the supernatural and the underworld. The association is very likely due to them being observed hanging around places of burial or disposal and around gibbets and battlefields. Wild dogs are hungry and will have scavenged for food from these places, and so the link between dogs and death would have arisen, especially if, in these places, the dogs have dug dens underground. As with many animals, such as the hare, there is an association with the underworld to any animal that is seen to emerge from underground dens. So a dog who is observed leaving his den close to places of death would foster these associations. It must be quite a lonely domain in the kingdoms of the underworld. The only visitors you get can be rather gloomy company, since you are to judge their privileges and their punishments. The divine family sort of sees you as the black sheep of the family, and they avoid coming to visit at all, except on occasions to ask for favours or to pilfer goods while you're away. So the best course of action is to get yourself a nice, big, divine dog to keep you company and to rend the limbs of any trespassers. The goddess and titan Hecate was one such dog owner. Hecate is a triple goddess, having 3 aspects and associations to her. Hecate was a former goddess of the moon, and she became the invincible queen of the underworld. She is a powerful goddess of the occult, ghosts, the underworld, and of crossroads. She has with her as companions 3 black dogs who bear the same tasks as their master. Though most art depicts her as a sexy goth girlfriend, some descriptions incorporate her triple nature of being the goddesses Artemis, Hecate and Selene, and she appears as having 6 arms, 3 bodies, and the head of a dog, horse and a lion. Her approach is said to be preceded by that of a howling dog. In Hindu mythology, there are two four-eyed dogs, Sabala and Sayama, who guard Kalichi, the god Yama's palace. Yama is a wrathful Hindu death deity who judges souls and is supervisor of hell and the cycle of samsara, or reincarnation. Sabala is described as being spotted in coat and Sayama as being black. The dogs' roles are to protect the palace, the god, the underworld, and to herd the dead into judgment. In Norse mythology, the goddess Hel had a dog named Garm who guarded the way to the mouth of hell. The word Hel is Germanic in origin and means to cover, so the world of shades to the Vikings is the land of the covered over. Heroic warriors and other souls deemed worthy and brave got to live in Odin's Valhalla, while the rest of us, who lived beige and naughty lives, get to reside in the realm of hell. It is evident by descriptions of Garm that he has influenced our culture's legendary spectral demon hounds. He is described as having 4 fiery red eyes and is stained in blood. Garm is guardian of hell and her realm, but he also plays his part in the end times of Ragnarok. Not only will he herald the beginning of Ragnarok with a howl, but he will fight against Odin and his chosen champion warriors. The warriors will ride out to the plain to fight the agents of their demise. Odin will fight the wolf Fenrir, Thor the world serpent, Freyr against Surt, and Tyr against Garm. Odin himself was accompanied by 2 dogs, Geri and Freki. Geri, meaning Ravener, is one of the guardians of hell. In Celtic death lore, there are the Cún Annwn, red-eared, white-bodied fairy hounds who were the hounds of the Gwyn ap Nudd, who is the Welsh god of the underworld. Many animals in Celtic legend are of white colour. This denotes that they are owned or are of divine beings. The colour white in Celtic mystical belief is the colour of the supernatural, with red, of course, as the colour of death. So any animal that appears so is considered an animal of death and the other world. One of their haunting grounds is the mountain Cadair Idris, where their howling is seen to be an omen of death. They are said to hunt the souls of the cruel and the unkind, and they are associated with the wild hunt. A part of a culture's folklore is a sympathetic relationship with one's environment and its seasons and rhythms. And with that came observations of animal behaviours that were thought to have significant meanings. Many of us dog owners have been creeped out by our dogs who suddenly behave in a strange way, as if they are seeing something there or hearing something we cannot. And we swear to ourselves through gritted brain teeth that it's just the wind or dust. But that superstitious part of us has already gone there. Your heart is now telling you that there is a spirit in the room. A lot of us say that dogs can see things we can't in a really matter-of-fact way, as if it's purely natural to see supernatural forces. But dogs have had a long association of being cipher-chewing mystics. Dogs as death omens became a part of our cultural expression. It was thought that if a dog was to scratch at the floor or howl beneath a window, it was a sign that someone in the household was soon to die. Nathaniel Holmes, in his book Demonology and Theology, says of dogs,
"If a dog howls in the night near someone that is sick, it is a sign of death."
If you were to drive the dog off and it comes back, the omen and your fate is stronger than you could hope, and you will have to accept that you or your family member are not long for this world. A howl repeated 3 times means a death in the neighbourhood. The ancient Romans also held the belief that howling dogs were omens of death, and they were said to have howled before the death of Emperor Caesar and Emperor Maximus. The first reference in print of a howling dog omen is found in the Distaff Gospels, a 15th century collection of folkloric beliefs. The phrase goes as follows.
What one heareth dogs howl and cry, he ought to stop his ear, for they bring evil tidings.
What this is saying is that if you hear a dog howling, you should plug your ears, for no good will come of the sound. Superstitions around this omen evolved over time so that a dog howling nearby all night meant that death was coming to someone in the neighbourhood, and that one solitary mournful howl was a declaration of someone's passing. The omen itself inspired many authors of the time to weave the superstition into their stories and plays. In Shakespeare's Henry VI, he delivers these darkly prophetic lines.
The owl shrieked at thy birth, an evil sign. The night crow cried, a boding luckless time. Dogs howled and hideous tempest shook down trees. The raven rooked her on the chimney top, and chattering pies in dismal discord sung.
English poet Samuel T. Coleridge's poem Christabel says of a howling dog.
Sir Leoline the Baron rich hath a toothless mastiff bitch. From her kennel beneath the rock she maketh answer to the clock. 4 for the quarters and 12 for the hour. Ever and aye by shine and shower. 16 short howls not over loud. Some say she sees my lady's shroud.
Charles Dickens in his novel Martin Chuzzlewit.
The howling of a dog before the house filled him with terror he could not disguise.
A strange and frankly pointless sounding countermeasure for this omen is to remove your left shoe and to place it with its sole facing upwards on the ground, whereupon you will spit onto the sole of the shoe. You then put your foot onto your own spit. The measure is said to silence the dog, but I imagine it's probably because he's wondering what the bloody hell you are doing. During the 11th century, the appearance of a black dog in the village was a sign of coming plague, and a dog seen to be digging a hole was also a sign of death to a person, but an innocent fun time for the dog. Sadly, often dogs were killed in the belief that the omen could be neutralised by the dog's own demise. The final death omens associated with dogs is the form of spectral hounds. There are 2 types we're going to explore: those that ride in packs across skies and lonely places, and those that roam demonically across the lands. The most well known of all spectral roaming dog packs is that of the Wild Hunt. The Wild Hunt is a pack of dogs led by a host whose origins are said to spring from Norse mythologies. Odin or Woden, also known as the Wild Huntsman, is said to be the originator of this particular folklore. Odin or Wotan is an ancient European bloodthirsty god of battles. He is said to hunt the skies at night time accompanied by a pack of ferocious hounds, and that anyone who witnessed their passage could potentially be carried off with the host. And those that deigned to speak to Woden would suffer certain death. As the pagan religions diminished and the Christian one grew, Odin was replaced with the devil and other characters such as Cain, Charlemagne, Gabriel, Hel, Hermes, Herne, Herod, King Arthur, and many folks from local legends. For the dogs themselves, they have been given many monikers. The Devil's Dandy Dogs are a pack of fire-eyed fire-breathers who are led by the devil himself over the southwest of England. They roam the Devonshire moors on stormy nights, and those who are unlucky enough to witness their passage will meet with imminent death. The dogs themselves are thought to be the souls of unbaptised children, though others also believe that it is the souls of unbaptised children that they steal. Another Cornish legend is that of Dando's dogs. Dando was a lascivious priest who drank, feasted and fornicated to great excess. One night, while he hunted drunkenly with his pack of terrifying black mastiffs, he found that his drinks flask had run dry. And, like all selfish sots, he wanted more to drink, and, thoroughly in his cups, he swore to the devil that he would spend all eternity in hell if only he was given a drop to drink. The devil, of course, obliged, and in payment, Dando was to roam the moors, terrifying those who were foolish enough to roam abroad the moors at night. Yet another from Cornish legend is that of the Whist or Wish Hounds, but the host is led by Sir Francis Drake, and they are said to precede a funeral procession. Gabriel's Hounds are a pack of dogs that roam Britain hunting the souls of the dead. They have the bodies of dogs and the heads of humans. They are again thought to be the souls of the unbaptised. And if this pack of human-headed dogs is seen hovering over a house, death is imminent for one of its inhabitants. In Wales, the hunt is led by Gwyn ap Nudd, the king of the Underworld, whose hounds are the aforementioned Cwn Annwn, and they ride over the Vale of Neath. Herne the Hunter is a wind god and god of the underworld. He is depicted as a giant with the antlers of a stag. He roams the woods of Great Windsor Park in the south-east of England. Other names and hosts for the wild hunt include Herod's Hunt, Raging Host, Hounds of Hell, the Furious Host, and Woden's Hunt. There are many ghost stories reflecting local legends which I will cover in later videos. Finally, we come to demon dogs. Demon dogs appear a lot in British folklore, especially in the east of England, which has many dogs roaming lonely roads and countryside. Not all of these demon dogs are seen to be death omens. Some are simply terrorisers of weary, lonely travellers. So the detail of this section will be short, and it won't include those that aren't portents of doom. First, there are the black dogs. The black dogs, also known as black hounds, are the menace of the roads of Devonshire in the southwest of England at dusk time. They have eyes like fire and are said to be owned by the devil himself. They roam the countryside, scenting out the freshly dead. Their travels are said to be silent, their paws making no sounds of ordinary footsteps. They leave in their wake a dark, demonic spoor. There is some thought that these demonic beings are the souls of the unhappy dead, who can be exorcised by means of a bell blessed by a priest. The bell is to be rung upon sighting of the often headless dogs. Once a dog has been banished by the bell ringing, then the bell must be separated from its clapper, and then each part put into separate bodies of water. If the parts are ever to become reunited, then the demon dog can resume its deadly forays. Black Shuck or Old Shuck, whose name derives from Anglo-Saxon suka, meaning demon, roams the lands of East Anglia. To witness him means your demise is to follow before the year is over. Some accounts of Black Shuck say that he has one eye and is the size of a donkey. Sparks fly from his eyes and he has an icy breath and shaggy black hair. He haunts marshes, coastlines, riverbanks and dunes. He is also often sighted in graveyards and is heard howling out these words.
Grisly ghosts have leave to play, and dead man's souls with courage brave. Skip from out each severed grave, and walk around when Black Shuck comes.
Scriker, also known as the Shrieker, is a demon hound of Lancashire, northwest England. He has glowing eyes and a soggy demeanour. He can be heard squelching his way up behind the unwary as they travel footsore on their lonely paths. It makes some ungodly screams that would terrify the soul out of even the most hardened of men. The Guy Trash, also known as Shagfowl, is a deaf portent that haunts the solitary byways of northern England. It takes the form of a horse, mule or cow as well as a hound. It is mentioned in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. As this horse approached, and as I watched for it to appear through the dusk, I remembered certain of Bessie's tales, wherein figured a north of England spirit called a Guy Trash, which, in the form of a horse, mule or large dog, haunted solitary ways, and sometimes came upon belated travellers. As this horse was now coming upon me, it was very near, but not yet in sight, when, in addition to the tramp, I had a rush under the hedge, and close down by the hazel stems glided by a great dog, whose black and white colour made him a distinct object against the trees. It was exactly one form of Bessie's Guy Trash, a lion-like creature with long hair and a huge head with strange preter-canine eyes. The horse followed. A tall steed nothing ever rode, the Guy Trash. It was always alone. Padfoot is of Yorkshire folklore and he dwells in the moorlands around the city of Leeds. Its name derives from the sounds its paws make as it approaches a traveller. It often rattles chains and has a roar described as being like no other heard before. It is unwise, should you spy this creature, to talk to or attack the padfoot, as it will drag you through bogs and thickets. The Barghest or Bargeist belongs to Yorkshire, Northumberland and Durham. Its general form is that of a black mastiff with fiery eyes, horns and fangs. It can also take the form of a bear. Like the Scriker, it makes splashing sounds as it walks, but like many a demonic supernatural creature, it is unable to cross water. Lastly, for demon dogs, we have the Cú-Thith, another name for an Irish demon dog. He has the same attributes as many of the other demon dogs, possessing fiery red eyes and pitch dark fur, and he too is a warning of death. So we are coming to the close of this video now, and not wanting to end the video on a doomy view of our furry friends, I will talk a little about dogs and their greater, lighter aspects in human culture. In Mesopotamia, dogs are protectors of the home and companions, as well as being hunters. Amulets of dogs are worn to protect the wearer, and small dog figurines have been found buried in the foundations of buildings, which, by sympathetic magic, the figurines would acquire the protective attributes of a canine. They would be inscribed with charms such as,
"Don't stop to think, bite."
They are sacred to the goddess and patron of doctors, Gula, the goddess of healing. This association is perhaps because of the observation that dogs lick themselves for the healing properties of their saliva. In Zoroastrian beliefs, dogs were the second beings to be created and needed to be treated with great reverence. Any strays encountered were to be treated kindly and fed. and anyone at the brink of death would invoke the spirit of a dog to guide them into the land of the dead. Hittite rituals show how a small figurine of a dog would be made with tallow and placed at the threshold of a building. An invocation was then spoken.
You are a little dog at the table of the royal pair. Just as by day you do not allow men into the courtyard, so do not let anything evil in during the night.
In Mesoamerica, red and yellow dogs were said to aid the dead in crossing a river into the land of the dead. In Mexico and Peru, dogs were sacrificed at funerals and rituals, and many depictions of dogs are found in Mayan temples. Quetzalcoatl, an Aztec deity, is a symbol of death and resurrection. He transforms himself into a dog before he enters the underworld. In some Central American beliefs, dogs would be waiting at the border between our world and the next to guide the deceased into the underworld. If the dog was not there waiting to guide the spirit, then the spirit was doomed to wander aimlessly, looking for a way into the land of the dead. So perhaps we should always be kind to dogs in this life, as your earthly conduct may influence the kind of dog you are to meet or not on the other side of life. In ancient Egypt, Anubis is the canine god of the dead. He is associated with embalming and mummification, but he also carries the role as guardian of the necropolis or graveyard. A seal with his image will have its prominent place at the entrance to a tomb. This is a protective seal to ward off any dangers to the tomb and the body within. Dogs were well loved by the Egyptians, and they were often given very rich and very noble burials. And in the Ainu of Japan, dogs also line the path to the underworld to guide the newly made soul to their proper places. In China, dogs are associated with celestial events such as meteors and eclipses, and they symbolise the opposing forces of creation and destruction. Dogs are also prevalent in the myth and folklore of the Celtic people, and the Gaelic word cú, meaning hound, is a prefix for many words, but is most associated with Cuchulainn, an Irish warrior hero. Cuchulainn, who as a child named Setanta, killed with his bare hands the fierce guard hound of a blacksmith named Cullen. To make up for the blacksmith's loss, Setanta offered to replace the hound until he had trained up a new puppy. This is how he earned the name Cuchulainn, or Hound of Cullen. He was raised in the kingdom of King Connachtbar of Ulster and went on to defend the kingdom single-handedly against the Queen of Connaught. So dogs are emblems of loyalty, love, tenacity, wisdom, intelligence, companionship and protection. They are symbols of the brave and the daring. They inspire us to learn to live in the moment, and they make us fear for our very souls when they howl in the night. So that was a little about dogs in folklore and myth. I will revisit each portion of this video in greater depth in videos of their own, because there is so much more there is to be discovered and discussed in this subject. In the meantime, I'm going to say thank you for stopping by, for tuning in, for sticking with me till the end of the video. I really appreciate it. This was one of my favourites to write and to produce, so thank you. If you have any dog lore of your own, feel free to share what you know in the comments, because the more I learn, the happier I am. If you enjoyed this video, consider helping my channel grow by liking, commenting and subscribing if you haven't subscribed yet, because it all really helps the channel grow. So I will see you in the next video. Please take care of yourselves and bye bye.